When they finally arrived in England, the regiment went to training on the Salisbury Plain, where it rained and rained and rained. But Winnie didn't seem to mind. She was the mascot of the 2nd Canadian Infantry Brigade, and she attended her post with vigor. One day, Harry came running while she was doing her exercises in the tent. You'll bring the whole place down, he said with a laugh. She had grown. It was winter when the order came. The time had come to fight. Winnie posed proudly with the men for pictures to send home to their families. Harry thought for a long time. His head argued one way and then the other, but his heart made up his mind. He went to Winnie and he said in a serious way, "There's somewhere we need to go." Winnie brushed the mud off her nose and nuzzled in close. Harry drove all the way to the big city.
So he's not in the war.
He is still in the war. They were training back at the camp where they're stationed here, but they got called up to go to what's called the front, and the front is where the combat is happening, where the two armies are fighting against each other. So they were training back at the other camp, getting ready to go to the front. So now he has to go to the front and fight, or help out with the horses while the other soldiers do the fighting. And he knows that Winnie is not going to be safe there. So they're on their way to the big city. "Here we are," said Harry, "the London Zoo." Harry took a deep breath. "Winnie, this is going to be your home for a while," he said. She tilted her head. "We're shipping on to France," he explained. "I have to take care of the horses at the front." She rested her big head against him. "I know you want to come, but it is not safe." Winnie's head bowed. Harry's hands were warm as sunshine as usual. "There is something you must always remember," Harry said. "It's the most important thing, really. Even if we're apart, I'll always love you. You'll always be my bear." "Is that the end? That's the end of Harry and Winnie's story," I said. "But I don't want it to be over," said Cole. "Well, sometimes," I said, "you have to let one story end so the next one can begin." "Well, how do you know when that will happen?" "You don't," I said, "which is why you should always carry on." Can you find Winnie?
Yeah. He's so lonely. He's the only bear. He's the only bear. You see a kangaroo.
All those empty cages there. All right, on to the next story. Once upon a time, there was a little boy with a stuffed bear. He had his bear ever since he was a baby, but somehow the boy had never found the right name for him. He tried Teddy, and Edward, and even Big Bear. One day, the boy went to visit the London Zoo with his father, and there was a bear, a real bear, on the terraces there. Right away, the boy thought, there is something special about that bear. Her name was Winnie. They became true friends. The boy was allowed to come right inside her enclosure to play. Once the boy had found Winnie, he knew just what to call his stuffed bear. He named it Winnie the Pooh. And the boy was called Cole? Said Cole?
Oh,
No.
I think that boy is when you know Winnie the Pooh. I think that's Christopher Robin.
It is. His name was Christopher Robin Milne.
It is.
Christopher Robin would visit Winnie at the zoo, and then he would take his stuffed animal on all sorts of adventures in the wood behind his home. His father, Alan Alexander Milne, wrote books all about them. Harry's Winnie became Winnie the Pooh, and there has never been a more beloved bear. But what about Harry? Cole asked. When Harry visited Winnie at the zoo, he saw how happy she was. She was being raised. She was truly loved. And that was all he had ever wanted from the moment they met at the train station in White River. So after the war, Harry returned to Winnipeg with his life as an animal doctor. Before long, he was married, had a son named Fred, and Fred had a daughter named Lorene, and Lorene had a daughter named Lindsay, which is me. And then I had a son. When I saw you, I thought, something special about this boy. So I named you after your great-great-grandfather, Captain Harry Colburn. I named you Cole.
Oh wow, this is a big family.
It is a big family.
Everybody,
It goes from here to there.
So here's the little boy in the story. There's his mom. There she is as a little girl and her mom, Lorene. Here's Lorene as a little girl and her dad, Fred. And then Fred as a little boy and his dad was Harry.
So Harry's
So-
her
Wow.
grandma.
Oh my
God.
Harry is his great-great-grandpa. Yeah.
Two grades. So
So that's me, said Cole in a whisper. That's you. And that's Winnie? Yes, I said, that's Winnie. And it's all true? Sometimes the best stories are, I said. Cole's eyes grew big and he said nothing for a long time. Then he hugged his own bear close and let out a yawn that reached far away, and they both turned over and fell asleep. All right, so now we have the album.
this part's super good.
Harry as a young soldier. Harry kept diaries throughout World War I. This was a diary from 1914, the first year of the war.
What does it say?
It's really hard to read all of this, like I'd have to study it for a while. But they typed in here the part about the bear, and it's very short. It says, the diary page from the day Harry found Winnie. On August 24th, 1914, which is up here, it said, bought bear, $20. All right. Then here's 3 soldiers with Winnie at her post. Winnie and Harry have what appears to be a laugh and a snack. And then down here we have Harry and the fellow soldiers with their mascot, Winnie.
Where's Winnie?
Winnie's on his lap right here.
Oh,
It's pretty tiny. Can you see?
it's so cute.
Oh, there's
Yeah. This picture of Winnie and Harry inspired the statues that now stand in Winnipeg and in London. So Winnipeg is a city up in Canada, and London is across the ocean in England, and they both have statues like this with Harry and Winnie.
I feel like
So that was put up in 1992.
did last year.
Oh, if you
Go back page,
when Harry found Winnie, it was my birthday.
How was it? All right, and I love this because I had always heard about Winnie the Pooh too, but I never really knew that Christopher Robin was real. But there is the real Christopher Robin. This photo was taken of Winnie and Christopher Robin in 1925 at the zoo after they became friends. Christopher Robin's father, A.A. Milne, watches them play from above. Would they ever let you in a bear enclosure now?
No.
No. She was a special bear, wasn't she? And boys don't really dress like this anymore either, do they?
It's
Interesting clothes from way back when.
I don't know why they let me in the enclosure and why she was special. But she was raised by humans, so she's not,
Yeah.
she,
She was used to being around people, I guess,
But
and
what-
she was so tame and kind, they just let all kinds of people in there. This is an interesting card. This card is from, it's the animal record card that shows Winnie, that she began her stay at the London Zoo on December 9th, 1914. So there's some interesting information on here. It says the name is black bear, but then somebody wrote later American black bear because that's the kind of bear it is. And then here's the scientific name, Ursus americanus, which is Latin. All living things, plants or animals, have a scientific name. So, and it's the same all over the world, so it doesn't matter what country you go to. If you talk about the American black bear, it's always Ursus. You're a Homo sapien. That's the scientific name for humans, Homo sapien. All right, and then it says, habitat was White River, Ontario, on December 1st, 1919. How acquired, it says the Captain Harry Colburn, the Canadian, I forget what all these little letters stand for, but from the military. Let's see, by the 2nd Infantry Brigade from the Canadian contingent. That's what all of that stands for. So date of arrival, December 9th, 1914. And then method and date of departure. Do you know what that means? Departure?
Departure is you leave.
Means when you leave. Your arrival is when you come, and your departure is when you leave. So the date of arrival was 1914. The date of departure was December 5th, 1934, and that's the day that Winnie died.
I remember that.
So from 1914, so from 14 to 34, how many years is that? 20. So she was at that zoo for 20 years. And then we have Lindsay, the lady who wrote the book, and her son Cole in 2013, just a couple years ago. We knew there was something special about this boy.
He's so
Cute.
Wait, he's
I
still
remember the
alive
portrait
then.
from
He
the
is.
Wait, then
Oh,
how
yeah,
old is
he's
he?
like- he's
That's a
only
good
like
question.
7.
He was, I don't know, how old do you think he is here? Maybe two? 1 or 2? So if he was 2 in 2013, that was 4 years ago.
Yeah,
6
4.
years
So
old.
probably 6. So maybe a first grader?
7.
Yeah.
Really? What if he's 5? Oh my god.
All right.
I know someone named Cole.
Look at the back.
Yeah, so do I. Hey, Winnie. Wait, that's what Winnie the Pooh looks like in all the stories.
No, he's like
Look at the front.
Okay.
Who is this?
Winnie.
Winnie with who? Harry.
And then Winnie with Cole. Winnie with Cole.
All right. So that was Finding Winnie, the true story of the world's most famous book.
I think that Christopher Robin had Tigger and all the other characters for his imagination. So
I think so too.
I think he told us mom.
I think so too.
Dad.
I actually have this book from when my kids were little. So this is A.A. Milne. That would be Christopher Robin's father, and it's The World of Pooh, the complete Winnie the Pooh and the House at Pooh Corner. So this is before Disney got a hold of this story. So here is the woods,
So that's what he started writing.
Pooh Bear's house, Kanga's house, Sandy Pit where the Roo plays, Rabbit's house, Rabbit's runs, and relations, bee tree, and so on. Eeyore's gloomy place.
I have yours. I have.
Rather boggy and sad. Anyways, this is what the illustrations look like inside here.
Wait, so this
That
is
bear
like
looks
when
exactly like.
Winnie when he was in the story. He's back. Winnie loves
All right. We have an activity that we're going to do with this book about your family. Here we go. I think you can stop.